Psalm 119, verse 73 through verse 80. Your hands have made and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I may learn your commandments. Those who fear you shall see me and rejoice, because I have hoped in your word. I know, O Lord, that your rules are righteous and that in faithfulness you have afflicted me. Let your steadfast love comfort me according to your promise to your servant. Let your mercy come to me that I may live, for your law is my delight. Let the insolent be put to shame, because they have wronged me with falsehood. As for me, I will meditate on your precepts. Let those who fear you turn to me, that they may know your testimonies. May my heart be blameless in your statutes, that I may not be put to shame. There are three verses out of this passage that jump out at me, that grab my heart when I read it. The first one is verse 73, the first verse in the passage. It says, "Your hands have made and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I may learn your commandments." What a precious truth to consider and to remember, that the very hands of God put us together. I love what Psalm 139 says in its description of God's creation of us, that God knit us together in our mother's womb, that God knit you together in your mother's womb. What a good and faithful God he has been to you and to me, because his hands fashioned us. And now, even in this very moment, he is teaching us his word. He's showing us what his word says. He's leading us to himself. God is leading you to God. What a beautiful, faithful thing. God has indeed been so very faithful to us. Then verse 76, let your steadfast love comfort me according to your promise to your servant. I love that dynamic of those elements of the Christian faith, the steadfast love of the Lord, the promise, which is that steadfast love will not cease toward his own, and we are his own. And that the promise of that steadfast love toward us, and indeed the reality of his steadfast love, is a great comfort to us. We take comfort in that is what we look to. You know the phrase comfort food, and we have these things in our lives, like those things that are so familiar to us, that feel like home, that make us feel at ease. It could be a food, or it could be a place. It could be a certain kind of music, or any number of things. These creature comforts, these things that we look to for comfort, and those things can be good and helpful, but we ought to teach our souls where true comfort is found, where we ought to go for real comfort, of divine comfort. God comforts his children, and a primary fountain of that comfort is a knowledge and belief and reliance upon the promise of his steadfast love toward us. The last verse that grabs me is verse 77. Let your mercy come to me that I may live, for your law is my delight. We are meant to live in dependence upon the Lord. And that's hard for us to remember and to practice, because our lives have been, for most of us, our lives have been arranged in such a way that there's very little danger around us. We rarely question where our next meal will come from. We don't worry usually if we're going to live through the night. Our worlds have been crafted and arranged in such a way that we can live in them with relative ease and comfort. That's not necessarily a bad thing, except when it teaches us to disconnect from Christ and to live independently of Him. It's far better to suffer. It's far better to wonder if we'll live through the night with a great dependence upon and hope in and faith in Christ than to live in relative ease and comfort and forget Him. This verse says, "Let your mercy come to me that I may live." This ought to be our prayer daily. This is reality. If God's mercy doesn't come to us, if God doesn't sustain us, if God doesn't continue to give us life and give us our daily bread and to lead us not into temptation, then we're utterly lost, destroyed, and hopeless. Let your mercy come to me that I may live. That's the phrase, the prayer, indeed, the prayer that I'm going to carry with me for the last few hours of this day. Lord, let your mercy come to me that I may live. What a gold nugget.